Get ready.
It's going to be a very, very intense journey.
All right. Happy 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. We took a quick 2-week break and we're back. And this is episode 158, Frame Skip Podcast. And today I'm joined by one of my brothers, Austin, Mario Kart Wii 140. Austin, how was your break?
It was great, Coach. It was great. Frankly, I was telling George I didn't have a break. In fact, I think I worked more than normal, but it was good. It was still a good holiday season. You know, nothing like Christmas time, New Year's. It was good.
Is everything back to normal, or are you guys still kind of like on
I think
semi-holiday time?
Yeah, we last week was still crazy. We had a lot of people out still for like New Year's and just beginning of the year vacations. But I think this week is the first week we've had everybody back. And from like a news perspective, everything's been pretty normal. I was telling George before we started streaming that last week in particular was a really hectic news week for us. So it's good to kind of be back on the normal grind here, hopefully for a little while.
Right. All right, George, how we doing, brother?
We're doing great. I'm finally back at work this week. I took like 2.5 weeks off at the end of the year. It was awesome. And most importantly, I didn't forget how to do my job when I got back. I remembered like my passwords. I was really worried about that. Everything's going great. It's a little cold where I am, as you can tell in the video. I'm wearing a outdoor jacket down in my basement because the heater is not working properly, and I live in Maine and it's absolutely freezing here right now.
You could come down south to where I'm at. It's like going to be 90 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. But I'm a little bit closer to the equator than you guys. So.
That sounds kind of nice, actually.
Yeah. I mean, it's green. I was driving to the other side of the island, and, you know, there's deer just sitting out on the side eating grass as we're going by. They don't even like budge or anything like that. They don't flinch. They're just chilling too. Good old Cuba. Good old Cuba. So I wanted to ask you guys, okay? So we had 2 weeks off. We had Christmas. We had New Year's. Which day do you enjoy more? Do you enjoy Christmas Day or do you enjoy New Year's Day?
That is a good question. Frankly, I this is going to sound lame, but I've never been like a partier or a drinker or anything. So New Year's Day and New Year's Eve for me I don't hate them, but I'm not like the biggest fan. Like they're just kind of there. If I were to choose a better holiday than New Year's for me, it would be Thanksgiving.
Yep.
I like Thanksgiving. I like the food. I like to eat. So there we go. But of the two, definitely Christmas. I don't know. Christmas has always been special to me, but I guess it's just like growing up as a kid. It kind of started out that way, and for me, it continued into adulthood. So,
And George, which one do you prefer?
Oh, absolutely, New Year's.
Same.
Interesting.
I think there's still expectations for New Year's, but significantly different expectations than there are for Christmas. And I had like kind of a bummer Christmas, man. Like my family showed up and I was really excited to see them, and then like they left within like 2.5 hours. Like they barely, like we just showed up, opened gifts, and then everyone just kind of left, and we're like, we made all this food, we cleaned up our house, and you guys were here for this long, and then like I think I just like drank wine and watched movies that night, you know, like nothing about it felt Christmassy. And then New Year's was just like, it's literally just about surviving until midnight, and then who gives a shit after that? You made it to the new year, and yeah, I much prefer that. And then the quiet introspection you usually have on New Year's Day is excellent. Where you're like, who am I going to be this year? And it's like, why don't you have that conversation every day? You should probably like, why are you waiting until January to set goals for yourself? Just set a goal today and do it today.
Right.
But I like that. I like that it's just a day thinking about who you plan to be.
Right. See, I look back and I think when I was younger, like middle school, high school, and even like my early college years, I always enjoyed New Year's Day because from the time I would wake up, and granted, I'm in San Diego, so usually the first game is at 10 in the morning, but literally there would be football from 10 in the morning all the way to the end. The last game was always the Orange Bowl out there in the old Orange Bowl stadium. So
Miami, right? Yeah.
yeah, so that's what we would do. We'd just sit around, and it was like Thanksgiving Day on steroids because back then Thanksgiving you had two games. You had the morning, which is Detroit, and then you had the afternoon, which was Dallas, and that was it. But recently they added the night game. But for me growing up, as much as I love Christmas and decorating, it was always awesome to just sit back with my dad and just watch college football, you know? So, yeah.
I get it.
So,
I get it.
yep.
I will say that
Also-
one thing I learned upon reflection this year on New Year's Day is that 2025 is the year of Coach, because this is his first time ever hosting this podcast.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
158 episodes plus the 300 that we did with Retro and Modern Network, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't pulling my slack. So it's time
Also-
for me to start breaking my breaking the chains of my comfort zone.
Look at you. Proud of you.
Thank you, George.
One
Okay.
more reason. Wait, we'll start really
Okay.
quick. One more reason to like New Year's more this year. I feel like NFL kind of fucked Christmas this year. Like there was too much going on that week.
Yeah.
There was like a different football game every day, and that was like the first time in a while that I can remember feeling like football fatigue. Where I was just like, I'm not gonna watch this game. I don't care. Like I'm just exhausted. Like I'll give you my Sunday for 18 weeks. That's fine. But the second you make it so football's on 4 or 5 days a week, like I'm tuning out, man. Like I don't care. Like this isn't baseball, you know?
And you know, since the mid 2000s, for basketball, Christmas Day NBA owned that.
Yeah.
However, this year, NFL said, "Hold my beer," and they were playing. They got more views. I mean, they got more people watching than NBA, from what I saw.
That and they kind of fucked college football too, right? Because like they started doing like
Yeah.
Saturday games.
Yeah.
And so they were taking like
Friday.
I thought they weren't.
yeah.
I thought they weren't allowed to do that. Like legally, I thought they couldn't do that. But like I
Mhm.
guess because of like the new college football playoff structure, all of a sudden they are legally allowed to do. I'm like,
Yeah.
NFL is just the greediest thing ever. Also, 17 game seasons, 18 week seasons, they suck, man. Got to go back to 16. These players, like the last week, it was really exciting that like Vikings and Lions, it's just like this will determine the one seed. Like, okay, that was one good game. Oh, it was a blowout. Oh, everyone was exhausted from a 17 week season. Oh, sick. Okay, cool. Unbelievable.
Mhm.
So many backups started 2 days ago. So boring.
All right, so tonight we're going to talk about. We have 8 different topics that Austin created, and game of the year, those type of questions. But before we get to that, there's a couple things I want to talk about. First of all, I want to ask you guys how was your year last? How was 2024 for you guys, and what was the high spots for you guys for 2024?
George, go ahead.
2024 was great. 2024 was my second year working at my current company. It was the first time I felt like comfortable in my role. You know, didn't still feel like I was like learning. So like I just all of a sudden work became way more enjoyable to me, and that like honestly made the year just way less stressful. That was super cool. I got a 4th dog. I got a dog named Rooster in 2024. That was pretty awesome. I got to see
What
good
kind
friends.
of dog?
Blue. Oh my god. Like a blue heel terrier.
Healer?
Blue healer, thank you. And a terrier mix. Her
Mm.
name's Rooster. She's the most energy and she's the best cuddler I've ever met in my entire life. She's great. Also, Coach, you'll appreciate this. I saw Smashing Pumpkins this year.
Ooh, how was it, man?
You could tell they were old, but they still gave a shit,
Yeah.
which was the right, like the sweet spot. You know,
Mhm.
Corrigan can still hit not every note, but like a lot of the notes, you know. It's pretty sick, and tickets were free. That was a birthday gift. Yeah, man, it was a great year. Nothing really to complain about. I mean, there were some things to complain about. I'm not going to get into that on the show. Little personal stuff and some public stuff that I don't want to get into. But yeah, all in all, I give 2024. I give it like a solid A minus.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Young man?
Yeah. Hey, we're both young men over here.
Not that young anymore.
Okay, young hero.
2024 was a great year for me. I really, a lot happened for me personally, and a lot that I had frankly kind of just been waiting for. Like I knew the moment would come eventually, but we bought a house in 2024. I got a new job that frankly I had been dreaming of for years. It was a major step up for me career wise, and you know, all things willing, it's a job that I'd like to keep for a considerable amount of time. I mean, a bulk of my career, I could see myself staying here. So that's been a huge positive for me, and great for my mental health too. Just because I feel very rewarded, and it's a very rewarding place that I'm working for now. We got a new cat, so that was something fun this year for us. And then just like a few other little things here and there. I mean, we went to DC. I'd never been to DC before, and so we went in November and like just had this
nice.
amazing
Yeah.
time going up there, and saw Baby Metal again while we were there. I think that was my third or fourth time seeing them. So they were amazing. But yeah, just overall, like if I could really sum it up into like one thing, aside from all these major accomplishments for us, Andy and I this year, just from a mental health standpoint, I feel like I was in a much better place in 2024 and still going into 2025. I felt like in 2022, 2023, I kind of got complacent with certain things in my life at times, and frankly, mostly career related. But 2024 was just a very good year for me. And so I'm hoping to continue that energy this year in 2025.
Nice.
Hell yeah. How about
So-
you, Coach?
Okay, so this has been a memorable year because I volunteered to come out here on this deployment, and it happened by chance because during spring break, I'm teaching a math camp, right? And then one of the soldiers they hadn't come here yet, they weren't here yet, but we've been in the same unit for years. So she called me up and she's like, "Hey, they need a cook." So I thought about it for about 10 minutes, and then I called her back before the next session started. I'm like, "Okay, let's do this." Right. So then I had 5 days to move out of my house and put everything into storage. And that was stressful enough. Like that was wild. So, but my friends came through, and I did a lot of the stuff on my own. So that way, when I got their help, it took like maybe an hour or something like that. Right. But anyways, so I've been here since April, and I got promoted to Master Sergeant. So, and that's
Congrats.
huge. Like not many cooks make it to E8, you know? So, and I still have enough time. So I'm 53. So if I wanted to stay to 60, if I wanted to, I have time to still accomplish even more, you know? So, and I still feel my body can give it, even though it's starting to break down a little bit. I can feel like I can't run like I used to, you know? But I'm doing this mission, and it's really it's a very sensitive mission right now, like super sensitive, that White House, Pentagon, like they're tracking it, right? So we've been doing it for about probably in the last month or so, and so we probably have another month, I would think, and at least 2-3 weeks. So being able to be the rank that I'm at, there's only one more above me, right? And the mission that I have, like, I just feel for 2024, super thankful, grateful, you know, / grateful. So, and then all the money I'm saving, I get to put into a house when I get home.
Hell yeah.
Yes. So
Going back-
win-win.
back to El Paso? Is that the
Yes.
part
Oh
that
yeah,
you wanna-
definitely. Yeah. Because the thing is like with all the stuff that happened with the we won't go into it, but with the insurance CEO, remember the health,
Yeah.
right? I'm not going to pay to any health insurance anymore. I'm just going to go VA. And El Paso's set up perfectly to where it's not going to be difficult to get treatment when I need to. And why not, right? I did the time,
Yeah.
I served. So, like, yeah, it's
No, you should
obvious.
take
So,
advantage of it. I mean, I know the VA is sometimes hit or miss, but I mean, every member of my family that's been in the military has really taken advantage of the
Mhm.
VA because I mean, you should.
Yeah.
It's part of what you get for serving the country. So
right. And the higher your disability, the lower the property taxes. So for Texas, right? So that's
Yeah.
always a plus. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and get into the topics. Like I said, there's 8 topics. And the first one is what game from 2024 do you wish that you spent more time with or that you had more time with?
Okay, so I cheated here, and I have a bunch of games, and most of these were games I just didn't get to play.
Yeah.
So the answer for this one, the game I wish I spent more time with, is Star Wars Outlaws. I actually really liked it. I never played it. I was running out of time to play it when it came out because that was like the busiest time of year for me work wise. I was like, oh, I'll come back to it. I'll come back to it. And I unfortunately never got back to it. And then they added that patch that made it less about sneaking and just made it more of like an action game. I have not played it since the patch. I'm dying to get back to it. But my honorable mentions, games that I have not played from 2024: Dragon's Dogma 2, Silent Hill 2, Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, Stellar Blade, and Metaphor ReFantasio. Those are games that I just did not get to play even 5 minutes of. And like I guess also like Mario and Luigi Brothership, but like I don't really like those kinds of games. So
I heard it was kind of hit or miss too.
yeah.
Like I heard it's like 40 hours long and it's just like
That's too much. It's too much.
for that type of game where it's not deep. I'm assuming the story's not deep, right? Like after 20 hours, you're like, okay, been there, done that, right? So
I don't think
yeah.
it's no, it shouldn't be that deep.
no, 20 hours max, I would think.
That's so much.
Yeah. Austin.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's a good list of games though, George. I do want to play Outlaws at some point. Like I feel like once it hits 20 or
It's
25.
really good. I think it's 30 right now from most retailers. I really liked what I played of it. Got like halfway through the game, I think, before I had to take a step back. But
Yeah.
it's really good.
So for me, there are a few games that I would choose. I mean, certainly Echoes of Wisdom. That was one that it came out, and frankly, just the frame rate and performance problems just were not jiving with me at the time. I hope maybe that some of that will get fixed with Switch 2. But even if it doesn't, I still want to go back and play it, finish it up. Just to say I've played it since I've played every Zelda game that's released since the 3D one started at this point. So that game, a game I didn't even pick up or play, but one that I've wanted to play because of all the acclaim it's gotten, is Prince of Persia: Forgotten Crown. Everybody says that's like one of the best Metroidvania games of the past decade, and like beautiful, runs flawlessly, even on like 60 frames, even on Switch. So that's one that I've also kind of been waiting on a price drop for, but at the same time, I feel like I need to play it soon because I'm listening to a lot of these Game of the Year podcasts right now, and this game keeps coming up on people's lists. Not necessarily Game of the Year, but like in the top 5 of the year. And so it's one that I definitely need to play. And then a couple others did. I could be mistaken. Did Thousand Year Door remake release this year?
It did.
Or was it?
Yes,
It was
it
this
did.
year. So that's one. I bought that, and frankly, I didn't really touch it. I went straight from Mario RPG to that game, and I think that was a mistake. I think I needed to like take a break for a little while first.
Yeah.
So that game, and then finally Helldivers 2. I know that's going to come up a lot on this podcast tonight, but I played about 40 hours of it, but I want to play more. Like, I feel like that just was not enough. There's so much more to do in that game, and I need to get back to it. So those are my picks.
Right. Okay, so me, I had two. Okay, so the first one was a backlog game, and I started playing, and it was Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I started it before I got here, but then I really got into it. I got about a third of the way done, and then Christmas hit, so I kind of stopped, and I bought a capture card, so I'll probably start that over so I could get like clean footage of that game and maybe do like put together an end of year video or something about that game. Just because I love being in that Hyrule setting with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So there's a little bit of talk that the next crossover game could be either like a Tears of the Kingdom, like what was that war? During
Oh gosh.
where Zelda went back to. It was, what was the name of that war?
Calamity War, right?
No.
I can't even remember.
Yeah.
I know
But
what
it
you're
was
talking
a war.
about, though.
Yeah. So it could be in that setting, or people are saying it could be a Xenoblade Warriors game.
Ooh, that makes a lot of sense. I had not thought about
Yeah,
that.
it does. It does make a lot of sense. And if that would release on the Switch too,
Yeah.
yeah, baby. So the other one, even though it's a few years old, I did buy it this year, and I started it, and then the Dynasty Warriors Origins demo dropped, and I kind of stopped playing it. But it's on my list of platinums for this year, and that is Ghost of Tsushima.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, and I probably played maybe 2 hours. I got maybe 2-3 hours into it, and I already know that when I really get into it, it's gonna be amazing. I just
completely absorbed me. Like when that came out. Well, I didn't even play it when it came out. I waited a few months. I think I got it for Christmas that year. Andy bought it for me or something. But whenever I did start playing it, dude, I sat down and I played 60 hours of that game, and I could not play anything else for weeks because of how addicted I was to that game. It's so freaking good. I want to go back to it.
Right. Are you guys going to play those? Go ahead, George. Sorry.
I was going to say, it came out like June 2020, I think.
Oh,
May
wow.
2020.
Yeah.
And like I was like that fat kid who like was in the desert and like drank all of his water at once. That was like peak pandemic. Like there just wasn't a lot of new shit coming out. And like I platted that game in like a week. Like that was all I did that week was just do that. And that was also like what got me on the show, right? Like it was just we were mutuals who I think you guys just needed someone else to talk about the game with. So that game is very important to me. So that got my foot in the frame skip shaped door.
There you go.
Do you think you guys are going to hit those games this year for 2025?
A bunch of them, yeah. I'm less skeptical. Yeah, I'm trying to. My biggest, like, my most toxic gaming trait is I never play shit really when it comes out. Like, I do such a bad job. And, like, granted, there's 10 times more things coming out now than there was 15 years ago when I, like, probably cared about gaming the most. But, like, it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't want to play Dragon's Dogma 5 years after it comes out. I want it to be closer to when it comes out. So it's like, I get a more accurate idea of what games were like when they come out. And so, like, I'm going to try to do it. But that means I also need to, like, focus up and get ready for this year. And, like, we were going to talk about most anticipated games. But, like, one of the games that's not on my list, but, like, Donkey Kong Country Returns. Yeah. And, like, that comes out in, like, a week or something. But I'm, like, really debating. I'm like, fuck, do I get that game? And just, like, try to beat it as fast as possible just to, like, keep that experience tied to when it was relevant. Like, that's... And I'm like, no, dude, you got so much other shit to play. And then, like, that's how I get into this situation about, like, yeah, I'll play Dragon's Dogma 2 exactly 1 year after it comes out. And so I won't be hearing any natural conversation about it. And I'm just going to be playing it in a vacuum. And that's the eternal struggle with what I do with games.
I definitely see myself at least playing Echoes of Wisdom this year, and certainly more Helldivers too. I think those are the two that are kind of like guaranteed for me, but the others we'll see.
You know, Echoes of Wisdom. I know it's a puzzle game,
Yeah.
and if I want to kill. I want to kill people with a sword, man, or with a bow and arrow. You know, let me jump
Yeah.
on the back of a grizzly bear and ride it around. You know, so I mean, I think I don't know if I'll probably end up getting it someday, right?
I just
So
hope it gets that Switch 2 boost. Like I hope Switch 2 comes out and they patch it or something and fix the frame rate problems, because then it would make it a must play for me.
What's that software they use? We've talked about it before. It's not the DSL. It's not with the
DLSS.
Yeah, it's not that, but it's another version, but that they use it for the Switch. And so I think
FSR?
I
Yeah.
believe they use it for Tears of the Kingdom. So if what I am thinking that if they left the FPS unlimited, or not unlimited, but open, right? They didn't cap it, then there's a good chance on that next system, if they coded it correctly, that it will bump to 60 and be solid.
As long as they are. So the only caveat is a lot of the time when games come out on new hardware or on current hardware and then can still be played on the new hardware, that newer hardware, so Switch 2 for example, would run its CPU and GPU at the same clock speed as the original Switch so that it doesn't like mess up anything graphically. But if they're smart, they'll put in a mode like the PS4 Pro had. They called it a boost mode, which boosted the clock speed higher, and that let it fix problems like in Echoes of Wisdom where the frame rate's unlocked and just bouncing all over the place. So hopefully.
But is Nintendo going to nickel and dime us on that stuff, though? I just...
Probably. They'll charge $60 for the Switch 2 port.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. Breath of the Wild, $70, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting. I'm sure we'll be talking about the upcoming Switch relatively soon. Okay. So number 2, the best component of a game.
So I really like this. We did this last year, and George, I think I'm curious to know if we're going to be on the same page with this, but I think my best individual component of a game is the bombs and airstrikes in Helldivers 2. Because, Coach, I know you haven't played this game, and we were just messaging about it last night. I truly think that if all 4 of us played this game, it would be something that we could sit down and stream frequently. It's such a freaking good game, and I really think it's a game you would love, Coach, on PS5.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it works, you type in this code, and you can basically call down like these support items. And the best items, in my opinion, just the most fun items in the game. I mean, you can literally call in like napalm strikes and giant mortars and explosions, and you just toss this like canister, and wherever the canister lands, that's where it's about to just get obliterated by like an F-18 flying by.
Right.
And it is the most just rewarding thing I've ever experienced in a game.
Man, one of the dudes I play with every Tuesday, super colorblind. And so like the amount of like accidental deaths because like it's like a giant red light that like pops up like where the bombing run is about to go. Oh my god, it's so funny. it's bad, it's annoying, especially when we were playing on like level 7s and level 8s and shit. But man, it makes me laugh so hard every week. That is my number 1 too. I love it because it feels like you're actually like it's like you pull out like a phone and you're like you have to type in the right number, like you're ordering delivery of bombs and shit. And it's such like a momentum killer in such like an interesting way where like you have to time everything out just to get yourself like the 5 seconds it actually takes you to call in uh, a shock cannon or whatever, whatever you happen to be doing, and it feels so cool when you do it, and it feels even better when you like remember the sequence. So you just like I don't have to look at the codes anymore. It feels so cool.
Yeah. Dude, it's so good. Coach, you should really get that game at some point whenever it goes on sale or something.
Okay.
We'll
We'll have to do it like in the
game.
summer or maybe spring break or something.
For sure.
Whenever things are chill. Okay, so for me, it has to be okay. So the first Hyrule Warriors, Sheik was she's my favorite character, or I guess you could say that's her costume, right? That's Zelda's costume, right? Is Sheik. But anyways, but for Age of Calamity, Impa, and her move set, right? And it's really cool. What they do is you like assign tokens. I think it is. I forgot what the real name is, but you put these tokens on your enemies and you absorb them by killing them, right? And then once you get fully powered, absorb all of the tokens, then you have clones. You have 6 clones, and you just go through and you just annihilate lower to moderate level enemies, and it's good for like crowd control. So for me, that is I love just playing with her. I know I need to like branch out and level up the others, but that's my favorite component for Age of Calamity.
Dude, I love her moveset. It's so good. She was by far my favorite character to play as in that game.
And then when you're airborne, you could she could just bomb the crap out of everybody underneath.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
All right. So number 3, who's y'all's best developer?
I went with Team Asobi. I was most impressed, and like this is gonna sound like such a weird compliment. It's like the most Nintendo like developer I've seen in a minute. Just like the level of polish in Astrobot was just astounding. Like I think they're hands down. Also, like they're a small team, which I really love. Like they're not 500 people with like an A team and a B team, and it doesn't seem like an incredibly stressful factory where they're just churning out shit for you to play. So those guys, Astrobot boys for me.
Yeah, I would agree with Team Asobi. I mean, well, obviously we'll get to it later, certainly, but Astrobot, just from a design perspective, from a technical perspective, I mean, it was honestly kind of flawless. So just very well designed, very well done. But my runner-up would actually be Machine Games, because
okay, yeah, that's fair.
Indiana Jones was coming out, and ever since they first announced that game and showed it was first person, I mean, all that I read was frankly some concern from people about how, what is this game going to be? Should it really be first person? Well, man, the game comes out and like, yeah, it should have been first person. They knew what they were doing. They made an extraordinarily well-crafted game, and once again, just kind of showed that they are really good at what they do, even though a lot of people tend to forget about them, frankly, as a developer of the Wolfenstein games as well. So that would be my runner-up.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Like I said earlier, I didn't really play. I beat one game, right, that I remember, which was Super Mario RPG.
Hell yeah.
So that I mean, do I say Nintendo? I wish I had more to choose from, right? So, but I'm really hoping for this year Koei Tecmo comes through with Origins. So
Yeah.
And they need this. They need a win. So desperately. All right.
This is so funny. Like I feel like you're the only person I've ever heard get this excited for like a Dynasty Warriors game. And I gotta be honest, man, like you getting so like I'm like checking out Dynasty Warriors now. Like downloaded the demo earlier on like my PS5
good.
and I'm like, fuck, am I gonna do this? I said I wasn't gonna buy games for like the first 6 months. But like, am I gonna do this shit really? And I think I'm going to, Coach. It's all your fault. Look at you, spreading the DW disease.
Right. So I've been going down the rabbit hole of Muso games, right? So one thing I did is I noticed that compared to the older games where the left button, depending on what system you're on, the left button is your regular attack, the top button is your strong button, and the right button is going to be your Muso, right? But it's different. It's that's not how it is with Origins. So then I went and I got Dynasty Warriors 9, which didn't review well, but I played probably about 10, maybe 15 hours just to learn the just to go through the beginning of the game so I could learn the combat, right? So next week when I start playing, I'll have at least a little bit of knowledge, and just throwing many hours into it, I'll get the combat down.
Hell yeah.
Dynasty Warriors, I feel like is a series that most people just from a glance don't understand why somebody would like it. Like, I know at least that's how I was when I had not played one before I played Hyrule Warriors, I guess would have been the first one I played. I just looked at those games and I was like, this does not seem fun. You're just, mashing buttons, you're killing the same guys over and over again. There's no challenge. But when you really get into it, those games are much more complicated than they're made out to be. I mean, it's like you're playing chess in a way. Like, there's all these different like timing aspects where you have to, get to the other side of the map and then make sure you're defending the bases and just different things. But I really think that franchise is frankly kind of underappreciated here in the West, at least. I'm sure that in Japan it has its fan base, but in the West, I think people tend to look at it just visually and not fully understand what they're paying attention or what they're looking at. And I don't know, man. I think those games are actually really, really good. And I do want to play Origins. If Monster Hunter Wilds wasn't next month, I probably would buy it, but I'm trying to kind of not buy any massive game right now. So
Right.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So there's a lot of hype.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It looks so fucking good. It's like the part, like, I always thought the point of them was to just like prove how many characters they could have on screen at once. Like, I really thought it was like ostensibly, like, respectfully, like a tech demo. But like, I'm sitting here, I'm just like, fuck, this looks like the perfect game for me to just sit on the couch and like drink a beer to. And Coach, I'm so mad at you for just like charging me an extra $70 that I wasn't expecting to this early in the year. Never on my radar until you mentioned it, you selfish fucking beauty.
I know.
Yeah.
But so what's crazy is there's this olive branch, this branch of games that splits off from Dynasty. You have your crossovers, then you have Samurai Warriors, and you have Warriors Orochi, right? And so each one, so Dynasty Warriors is China, Samurai Warriors is Japan, and I believe Warriors Orochi is more like kind of like the first Hyrule Warriors, where there was like magic. It was like
yeah, that's my understanding of it.
Yeah. So I'm excited because I really want to start getting into that whole genre and try and make some videos. We'll see. We will see. Okay, guys, number 4. The best protagonist.
Oh. I have a 1A and a 1B. 1A, the Indiana Jones work is absolutely incredible. Like, it is astounding how much it sounds like him. I was like Austin was alluding to earlier, I was the one who was like really skeptical. And I'm like, what's the point of being Indiana Jones, like, if you're in first person? And I was like, if you can't see Indiana Jones, if you can't see the hat, if you can't see the whip curl out, like, what's the point of that? And then I was like, oh, fuck, they did a good job. Like, the point is to make me Indiana Jones. That was the entire point. And all the voice acting is incredible. The interactions are great. I'm going to stop playing it because I know I'm going to want to play it on PlayStation 5. It sounds like it's murdering my Xbox. It's actually like kind of scary to play. Like, it sounds like it's going to blow up. But no, that's my 1A, and then Astrobot is my 1B. Like, he's just such a charming, Like it's like a silent film character. It doesn't communicate with words or any way we recognize, but communicates literally everything just with expression and like honestly like breathing is like how he does it. It's incredible.
Yeah, I know we're kind of repeating some answers here, but I think that just kind of shows what the three of us played last year. But yeah, Indiana Jones is my pick for this, and I know that's kind of ridiculous because it's like, well, damn, it's it's a character based off a character from a movie, but George, everything George said, I agree with. The voice work, Troy Baker, again and again and again, just shows the insane range that he has, going from Joel in The Last of Us to the Joker in Arkham Origins, now to literally Harrison Ford in this game. I mean, it's like a near flawless impersonation of Harrison Ford. There were so many times playing this game where I was sitting there watching the cutscenes, and I just the performance, the way the character was portrayed, both from a delivery standpoint, from a voice acting standpoint, but also from a writing standpoint, it was perfect. I mean, he is Indiana Jones in this game in every way, and so that would be my pick as well.
Okay. All right. So with me, I'm gonna have to go with Kyle Katarn.
Hell yeah.
You know, so got some of that old school stuff, and
From Dark Forces, I'm assuming, correct?
Yeah. So, and that's on my list of platinums to get this early this year too. So at least by March. Yeah. So Kyle Katarn is mine.
That's another game I have and I didn't really play last year. So
yeah,
I gotta play that one this year.
You know what I'm going to do, though, is to get some Steam time and some keyboard mouse and start cutting my teeth, is I'm going to go through the levels on PC first, and then I'll jump to the PS4 and PS5 versions and go through those. Yeah. So I got to get that keyboard and mouse.
Yeah.
Yep. Especially with Doom coming out this year.
That's right.
Yes.
Can't wait.
Oh, okay. So what is your best non-game related media for 2024?
Okay.
I have three. I have one overall answer, and then but like I try to come up with them in just different categories just to talk about cool shit. My number one favorite thing that was not a video game last year, WrestleMania 40 was awesome.
It was good.
It was so good. That was like when The Rock came back, and it was like Rock and Roman Reigns against Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes, and it was just such an incredible 2-night event of wrestling. It was the most like I felt like a child watching it. That's how much fun I was having. That is easily my favorite thing I watched. My favorite movie I watched was a weird little movie called The Substance. I don't know if you guys have seen it or heard of it. It is a body horror movie starring Demi Moore. She just won a Golden Globe for her performance, and she is like an aging aerobics instructor who's like pushed out of her job because she turned 50, and then she hears about this magical substance that'll like make you younger, and basically it's like the most horrifying thing I've ever seen, where she takes a substance and births out another like adult human being from her body, like breaks it, like alien style breaks out of the body. And so it's like her and Margaret Qualley playing the younger version of her, and it's them trying to make it work, and there's a bunch of rules. The movie is awesome. The dialogue is very sparse. It is mostly shown and not told. I think that movie's incredible. And finally, I think if Seth is here, he'd give me a hell yeah for this. The brand new Ultimate comics from Marvel have been incredible, and they're everything we've wanted for Peter Parker. They let him grow up a little bit, let him get married again, let him have kids. They've been awesome. The Black Panther book is great. The Ultimates book itself is probably my favorite comic book of the year. Yeah, man. Those books in particular are just firing on all cylinders. Could not be happier with them.
So I've got two things. First off, totally agree with you on WrestleMania. That was really the only wrestling thing I watched last year, but I sat down and watched it in full, I think, the next day, and only because I did get spoiled on the Undertaker return at the end. and the Cody and Roman and Rock match, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so I did get spoiled on that, but it made me want to watch it. So I saw The Undertaker return, went back and watched the full thing, and yeah, dude, WrestleMania last year was so freaking good.
Shit.
Yeah. So I don't have the kind of time to like keep up with wrestling every week, but I will still try to watch the bigger events when I can.
It's on Netflix now. They just made it a little easier.
How did that go, by the way? Did you watch Monday? Did it go okay?
There was a couple spurts where like it did just feel like lag and buffering. Besides that, though, yeah, it went smooth. And like the opening match was like between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, and I was just like, it felt like a PLE. Like I don't think they can keep up that quality and that roster for every week.
Yeah,
because it was like the biggest stars from SmackDown and Raw on one show. Is really good, and I'm expecting Chad Gable and American Made and all that dumb bullshit next week. So
I'm gonna have to check it out. So anyway, for me though, my real answers, I have two. Shogun. I know everybody talks about it, but good lord, man, that TV show absolutely hooked me. Just completely blew me away in every aspect. So well made. It's a FX like Hulu show, and just extraordinarily well done. I would highly recommend that show to literally anybody.
Did you watch it subbed or dubbed?
I don't think there's a. Can you change?
Did he freeze or did I freeze?
I thought you could. I thought you could change.
I don't think so. There was because it like mixes them. So each episode, like there's some English and some Japanese.
Oh, I thought there was one version where they just dubbed over everything in English.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't. Maybe there is. I did not watch that version.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So whenever the Japanese people are speaking Japanese, it shows subtitles, and then when it switches to I can't even think of the guy's name, but the white guy, and like his story, he speaks in English. So it goes back and forth, but it's excellent. And
I definitely need to watch that,
dude. Yes. You need to watch it. I am curious to see what they do with the next season, though, because from my understanding, this is where the book ends. Like, it's never gone further. So it seems like they're making seasons 2 and 3 just because of the success, which is fine. I just hope it stays of the same quality. So that, and then My Hero Academia Season 7, which is the second to last season, aired this year, and they're in this massive, like, final climax arc where the main characters are basically fighting the big bad, and it ends on this massive cliffhanger, and then next season is the finale. So I'm looking forward to where it goes. And then this is one more. I know I've been going a while, but one more. This wasn't a book that released this year, but it was one that I read this year, and that is Project Hail Mary. It was written by Andy Weir, the guy that wrote The Martian. Phenomenal. Like one of the best sci-fi books I've read in my entire life. And they're making a movie on it with Ryan Gosling, and it's coming out in a couple of years. I'm hoping it's of the same quality of The Martian, because that movie was great by book standards. So it's Project Hail Mary was phenomenal. I would highly recommend it to anybody. So those are mine.
Hell yeah.
Coach? I think Coach froze.
I think Coach did freeze. Yeah.
Dang it.
It's like, man, he's really holding that.
Coach.
He's really holding that position.
Look at him. Wow. He's so beautiful. Look at that young man.
Look at that young hero.
Did you read any good books this year, George, while we wait for Coach to return?
You know, I've been trying to go through and read a bunch of classics that I missed. I don't think I was like the best English major. I cared way more about writing when I was in college than reading. And the dumbass in me didn't realize, like, you know, you actually get better at writing when you read.
That is true.
And so I've been going through. You're on now.
You're back.
Okay.
You're
All right,
back.
I'm back. Okay.
There we go.
All right. Okay.
Coach, what non-game media did you enjoy this year?
Okay, I was explaining, and then I noticed that you guys are still. So I'm like, okay, one of us is got bumped out. But anyways, okay, so I got two that are on the extremes of each other and one right in the middle. So the one right in the middle, and I'm a sucker for Star Wars animation, and it was Bad Batch season 3. So it ended where, okay, we I don't know. It ended where they can continue on, right? With something. So it made me kind of sad because I've always loved Disney animation as far as Star Wars, because it's always been good, right? It's just that with Disney Star Wars, who knows what's going to happen next, right? So, but anyway, so Bad Batch was my probably one of my top non-gaming media. Now, on the far extreme, the crazy extreme was Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay.
Ooh,
And
I
that was
forgot
an
about
event.
that.
Yeah. And that was an event because the movie theater out here is outside. So, and it's just like stadium seating, right? And it has, so it was like an event. It was really cool. Everybody showed up for it because everybody was hyped for it. It's like 85 degrees. It's humid. There's mosquitoes were constantly just spraying us down, but we're enjoying it. Like, I'd do it again. It was that much fun, right? So
I had a similar, not outdoors, but a similar experience with that movie where so many people it was just high energy. It felt like for the first time in a long time, a Marvel movie felt high energy.
Since whatchamacallit, Infinity War and
Endgame.
Yeah, Endgame. So my last one is, I'm probably gonna get some hate for this, right? But starting in November 1st, when I would go to sleep out here, I would put on a Hallmark Christmas movie. So I would go to sleep listening to a Hallmark Christmas movie. So that was that was something that I enjoyed doing. So yeah.
Nice.
So that's the other extreme. Yep.
Love it.
Yep.
Love it.
So, and I'm trying to think what movies are slated for this year, big ones.
Frankly, I really don't know many aside from the Marvel ones. I know there's a few Marvel movies coming out. There's Captain America next month.
Yeah, I think that's DOA, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not really that excited for that, but I'll still see it.
I'm optimistic. I'm excited for that one. I'm more optimistic. Superman, I think, is the big one.
Yes.
That we know about.
Yeah, but that got some early screenings, like.
Yeah, but that trailer, like that, everyone I talked to was hyped as shit after the trailer. Fantastic Four, I'm really looking forward to.
Yep.
I don't know, but
Trying to look up what else is coming out.
Isn't Avatar 3 supposed to come out this year? Like, that's the most annoying thing is, like, most of these movies that I get really excited about are movies that I hear about 2 weeks before they come out. It's like these big tentpoles, and I'm like, oh yeah, like, I guess next December I will get very drunk and go see Avatar and fall asleep in the movie theater.
Yeah.
Much like I did with Avatar 2.
I loved Avatar 2. I was all about it.
I did not care for it very much.
I'm looking at a list of movies coming out. There's like a few on here. Like, I kind of forgot about Mickey 17, which is the next movie from the guy that made Parasite. Bong Joon-ho. So I'm looking forward to that. The next Mission Impossible comes out this year, which I forgot about.
That'll be my number one anticipated movie. Yeah. Dead Reckoning fucking rocked.
As much as the last 3 movies have sucked, Jurassic World Rebirth comes out this year, and it's the guy that made Godzilla 2014.
You don't like the first one that they did with
Jurassic World was okay, but
the whole cloning in the second one, I'm like,
but
and then I didn't even watch the third one.
I'm like,
I didn't either.
Kind of down for a Gareth Edwards Jurassic World. I mean, he's the Rogue One guy. He's Godzilla, and it's got
Godzilla
a pretty
movie.
good cast.
I think we talked about this before. That's like one of the best fucking blockbusters I've ever seen in my life. That Godzilla movie is so good.
Yeah.
Which one? -1?
No, the 2014 one.
The first legendary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Those seem to be kind of some of the big ones. I was trying to see what else. Yeah, Avatar, Fire and Ash, I guess is what it's called. So
So
there's a
before
few
we move
movies.
on to the next one, I do want to ask you guys. I was going to ask you this anyways. What do you think? And I'm just talking about the animation. I don't want to go anything else, but what do you think of the animation style for the next Spider-Man?
For the animated show,
Yes.
I
I don't like it, man.
I'm a little indifferent on it.
It's
I'm
too
an-
60s, 70s.
I'm not a big fan of the whole like CGI animated thing that a lot of places are starting to do now. Like I really don't like the way What If looks either. So, and that's kind of in that same vein a little bit. So, I don't know. Is that show canon though? Like is it canon with this like the Tom Holland trilogy? I don't really know much about
I
it.
don't think so.
I don't think so. And like, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like after every like phase 4 movie, phase 5 movie, I don't know what phase we're in. I feel like after that, everyone's like, maybe this was a mistake. Like maybe canon shouldn't actually be this binding and this
True.
automatic.
Yeah.
I'm mad. I always pick up like a lot of like Marvel number ones, and I picked up the number one for like they have like a comic tie-in for the show. And I was like, oh shit, like it'd be so nice to sit down and just read a Spider-Man comic and like not worry about anything else. And I saw like the writer on it. I'm like, oh, I fucking hate this writer. And I assume that guy's like actually like involved with the TV show. So now I'm like less excited about the TV show.
Alden in the
But-
chat, by the way, we were talking about Superman. He said he just hates that we're losing Henry Cavill as Superman. And I don't disagree. Like I think he's a good Superman, but I don't know. I'm excited for that new movie either way.
I don't give a fuck. Those movies were so bad.
True.
Like I
Yeah,
love
man.
Henry Cavill, but honestly, like, please go do like real movies.
I don't know. Man of Steel, I really like. To this day, I could watch Man of Steel, but that's the only one that I could watch of that whole, whatever that guy's name is that
Snyder.
did it. Yeah, the Snyderverse. I didn't even watch the 20-hour one that they put out recently during COVID.
Justice League. Yeah. I
It was
didn't
like
bother.
4 hours. I don't think so.
No, man. Henry Cavill did Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare this year, and like that movie fucking rocked. Like, yeah, work with Guy Ritchie every day because like he did that with Guy Ritchie, and then he did The Man from U.N.C.L.E. with Guy Ritchie, like with Armie Hammer. And it's like, yeah, man, I actually like you so much more when you're being like a person instead of an abstract idea.
Yeah.
So please do that more.
I do want to watch the first season of The Witcher because I heard that was pretty good.
It's good.
So
It's really good.
Yeah. So, all right. Our last 3 topics. Okay. The best game of 2024 that you played. And it doesn't have to be new, it could be old. Just the best game that you played.
Take it away.
All right. So just to make it a different answer than my game of the year. So like Coach said, this is like a specific category for games that it could be a backlog game, it could be whatever. Coach, Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Oh, shit. Totally forgot about that one. Yeah, I played it on the Series S.
I was just holding on to that because you were like, yeah, the only game I beat this year was
Oh,
Mario
man.
RPG. And I'm like, damn, you
Yeah.
already forgot about Jedi Survivor. We played through this
Seems
game
so
at the
long
same
ago,
time.
bro. So long ago.
You already forgot
Episode
about
2024.
Peak? Yeah.
Dude, that game
Yeah,
is
that's right, man.
so good. And
Yeah.
I am so glad that I finally went back
Yep.
to it. I'm glad that the two of us went back to it because I was so down on it when it came out because of all the performance issues. And one, they fixed all of that on PS5. But two, the game is just good, man. The story is phenomenal. The world building, the characters, the gameplay, like the level design, everything about that game is excellent. And I think it really got a bad rap because of the way it launched, like the state of the game at launch. But if you played and enjoyed Fallen Order and never played Survivor because of, again, the way that game came out at launch, you've got to go back and play it now, man, because it's so worth playing. It is such a huge step up from the first game. I adored Jedi Survivor in every possible way. So I mean, I guess in the grand scheme of things, I'm like, is this, aside from maybe the original Battlefront games, I can't think of a Star Wars game that's better than this. And obviously, those are I love those for different reasons. But I think from like a writing perspective, from a gameplay perspective, I think this has got to be the best Star Wars game for me personally.
I'd probably agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. George?
I have my runner up, my game that wasn't from this year, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. Like as soon as that game came out as perfectly as it did, I'm like, why the fuck isn't every GameCube game on Switch right now? Like, you have no excuse for Wind Waker not being here.
Right.
In fact, I think we're going to talk about Wind Waker in another category. I've got theories. But on the best gameplay, not the best game package, not the best holistic view of a game, but the best gameplay, Helldivers 2.
Yeah.
I played it every week. I wanted to, like, if I had the physical copy, like, I wanted to snap that disc at least 12 times throughout last year. Just because, like, the game ran like shit. Like, frankly, like, the first month it was out, like, no one could get a match because people were, like, staying in orbit or whatever.
Yeah.
And until, like, honestly, until, like, within the past 2 months, like, it was not uncommon for your game to crash, you know? Like, I was the only person who crashed in the game we played last week or the week before. And I was like, oh, fuck, this sucks. But, like, at least now we know how to do it. Like, we know the order in which, like, the hosting gets shifted, and then you're able to, like, quit out, restart your game, and then rejoin. You lose all your stats. Like, you don't get to make fun of people for, you know, getting fewer kills than you, which, I'm pretty good at that game. A lot of people get fewer kills than me. But you get, like, at least all your rewards. You get your XP, you get your samples and all that shit. So those are my two. Bring more GameCube games to Switch, please.
Yeah. I agree.
What other ones would you want to see besides Hyrule Warriors and Twilight Princess? F-Zero for sure.
1,000%. I want to say.
Oh, you want to wait that? You want to wait? Okay, we'll wait.
I want to say this.
That's a good talking point. Okay, so I did beat Super Mario RPG.
Hell yeah.
I did beat Jedi Survivor, and I got through more than half of Dark Forces, which I really love, man, because the remaster. So I guess either or. So I guess best game I played, I'm gonna go with Dark Forces, only because when you see the original and what they did with Dark Forces, it was just they made it special, right? They took the care to keep it the original, but it's just it's good. So I highly recommend to play it on PC. I really do. You know, definitely. Yes.
Yeah. It's one I've got to play soon this year.
Yes.
I got it in like a Humble Bundle a few weeks ago for like $13 or something, and it came with that and the 3 Crisis games remastered and Prey. So I need to play it.
Right. So I mean, it's a toss up between Game of the Year, but Jedi Survivor, right? But for you guys, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. Austin.
Well, I know I've said it before, and it's probably pretty obvious at this point, although it really hasn't come up actually as much as I thought it would on this show, and that is Astrobot. I really think it's the best platformer I've ever played. I mean, I know, George, you're going to say Mario Galaxy because I know we always have this conversation. I agree with you. I think those two games go hand in hand just as far as like the overall quality and the level design. But just when it comes to this year specifically, I mean, when we're talking Game of the Year, I really don't think anything else comes anywhere near as close to Astrobot. I mean, it's just such a well-crafted game. There are really, and I am not exaggerating when I say this, I really cannot think of a single flaw with that game. I cannot think of anything that I would point to negatively or have issues with. So I loved it. I'm excited to see where that series goes because obviously they kind of accidentally made this new PlayStation mascot. So, Astrobot, of course, started out as a VR game that nobody really played, and then you had the PS5 pack in that people loved, and then suddenly you have Game of the Year Astrobot.
Dude just showed up and just murdered Sackboy.
Yeah,
like
dude.
in his bed, just killed him dead.
And he's such a better character too. Like he's more expressive. The way he's portrayed in this game is so well done.
Less depressed.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's got to be Astrobot. It has to be Astrobot for me. Or runners up. I actually just beat Indiana Jones today. That would be my runner up for sure. Like no doubt. It again. I mentioned this earlier, but I feel like you could convert that that game to a movie, and it would just like same writing and everything. It would fit in with the original trilogy. The people at Machine Games know what makes Indiana Jones work, and they know how to make killing and punching Nazis fun, as they have made several times already. But that game, and then finally Helldivers 2 would be my second runner-up, because that game just came out of nowhere, frankly, and is such a blast. So figuratively and literally.
When does Indiana Jones release on PS5?
They've
Probably
only said
May.
spring.
Okay.
I assume it's late spring. You think like 6 months exclusivity on Xbox comes out December, so probably May. Right?
Yeah, I think you're right. April, May, something like that. So
And
it's a must play, in my opinion.
It's funny how we were talking about in the chat how Indiana Jones wasn't on Disney Plus, right? And then literally like the next day,
12 hours later,
yeah,
they add it back to Disney Plus.
So once we get a release date, which I'm sure we'll find out here in the next month or so, I bet you we get a lot of news on a lot of stuff in January, right? I definitely go back and watch the originals because nothing beats those first three. It's just, as a kid coming off Star Wars, still seeing Harrison Ford as Indy, those were good times. So definitely, I'm excited to play that.
Yeah, I know, George, you played a little bit, but I really think you guys would both love this game, especially when you get past the first like couple hours. I mean, I'm not saying the first 2 hours are bad, but the game really opens up the 3 or 4 hours in.
Yeah, once you get to the Vatican. Once you get to a place. Yeah.
So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think anyone that grew up with Indiana Jones like I did, like I'm sure you guys did, I mean, it's definitely worth playing.
Yeah.
Jorge?
That is my number 3 game. Just because like I didn't get far enough in it, but like I did it on purpose. And like I remember when I was like 2008, my dad and I went to see, start at the beginning of the story. In 2005, my dad and I went to see Batman Begins. And he was just like, that was okay. And I'm like, that's like one of the coolest movies I've ever seen. And then when The Dark Knight came out in 2008, I remember like buying the DVD and like showing it to him. I'm like, oh, you thought Batman Begins was just okay? Well, let me blow your fucking mind, old man. And I like started it, and then he like paused the movie like 20 minutes in. He like wasn't really paying attention to it, and then he like lights a cigar, pours a scotch, and then goes outside. I was like, "What do you do? We're in the middle of The Dark Knight. Like, what are you doing?" He's like, "George, I can already tell this movie's awesome." He's like, "I can tell that this movie like is like Heat with Batman." I'm like, "Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Actually, this movie's exactly like Heat starring Batman." And that's kind of how I felt. Like honestly, a half hour into Indiana Jones, where I was just like, "Oh fuck, they did it." Like I can't explain it. Like you just have like that intuition about the game. So that's my number 3, just because like I have to tip the hat to it, but I also didn't get out of the first like big open area. So I'm like, all right, like I don't know, maybe some weird shit happens. I don't know. I doubt it, but you don't know. My first runner up, a game we haven't actually talked about at all tonight, Dragon Age Veilguard.
Nice.
I do
Okay.
not care about the Dragon Age franchise at all. I don't care. Is Origins good? No idea. Played it for an hour. Don't care. Is Inquisition good? It's fine. Yeah, I put 15 hours into it. Literally can't recall anything. I vaguely remember one character who does make an appearance and is pretty important in Dragon Age Veilguard. This franchise is not sacred to me, so if people complain about the combat or the story or the art direction or any of that changing, I don't care. Like, I was never involved with this series. This series now is just like a very well written. It's basically the Dungeons and Dragons game, like for the movie, where it's just like quick, fast. Everything feels like a heist mission. You're constantly getting new characters and adding them to your party. The art direction is absolutely, I think, gorgeous. Everything looks like it's pastel-y and like honestly looks like how you imagine a Hearthstone cartoon would look. The combat is really fast and fluid, like it feels like a God of War game when you're knocking shit together. And there's like a combo system where like you can combine powers from different people in your party for different effects that make combat way easier and frankly way cooler. Like it feels like the first time I saw this was Ultimate Alliance 2, where like, you know, you could
dude.
throw your Captain America shield and then Iron Man could blast it and then that would just like radiate his blast all over the map. Like you do stuff like that in this game. It's phenomenal, and it's probably going to be on sale for $25 soon if I had to guess, because that was how much I got it for when I bought my PlayStation 5. And I bought that one. I was like, yeah, screw it, I'll check it out. And I'm like, this game is like, I'm obsessed with this game. It's great. My game of the year, I don't even have to go into it that much. Astrobot. For everything Austin said, part of me wants to be a little grossed out because like it is basically like a PlayStation commercial. You know, where it is just like, look how fucking awesome we are. It's like, you guys have released like absolutely nothing on PlayStation 5, just so we're 100% clear. You've had maybe 3 games. A lot of them were PS4 games, let's be real. And so like part of me like feels a little gross, but then like you see something from like Castlevania or whatever in the game, you're like, all right, like it's hard not to be romantic, I guess, when you're playing that game, even though it's easy to be grossed out, I guess, is just like the easiest way to put it.
But obviously, I mean, you are right that in a way it's a PlayStation commercial, but at the same time, I mean, it's
I love
part of our history, yeah, and we all love
yeah.
PlayStation, so it's hard not to love that stuff. But I do want to go back. Did you ever do any of the quests that they added, the levels that they added?
I did all of them except for some of the time trials made me want to like rip my controller in half. So I got like half of those. They added a gorgeous holiday themed level that was so much fun to go through.
I need to go back and do them. I platinumed the game and then I haven't gone back, but those levels look really fun. And I saw that one of them adds Gex as a character, which is so ridiculous to me. That
so what was the hardest trophy?
There's really not like a hard trophy per se.
No, there's one. Like the hardest trophy is getting the final Astrobot, and you have to go like to the end of a challenge of that one took me like probably an hour and a half straight. Granted, it was like on a Tuesday night. I had just beaten Far Cry 6. Oh, did I tell you guys that I beat Far Cry 6 and 100%ed it? So I'm out of the trophy doghouse now. I can't remember if I
going to play a Far Cry game again.
Like literally never. No, fuck that franchise into the sun. But like I just sat there and played that last level of Astrobot for like an hour and a half trying to get that trophy. It was super fun. Like I'm not mad that I spent that long because I was just like, I'm going to like, it felt like Trials HD, right? Where on these certain types of levels, coach, you have one life to go from beginning to end to rescue a bot. And it felt exactly like I was 17 again in my dorm room, 18 again in my dorm room playing Trials HD.
Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze, and Returns, they have that. When you get all of the Kong letters in the world, in the little area, right? I guess there's like maybe 4 or 5, levels. Then it opens up a secret level, and you just have one life. So if you get towards the end and you die, you got to start all the way back. And they're real challenging. And at 95% Tropical Freeze, so I have to go back and replay that because it's been so long, but I am getting returns. So, but I know what you mean about those levels where you build on what you learn, right?
Yeah.
So I like that because it teaches you how to play the next level, basically.
Yeah, I know some people feel differently, but those like challenge levels in that game are hard, definitely, but I don't think they're unfair.
No.
Like Crash,
Yeah.
that fucking game,
they're
bro.
they're all they're all learnable. Like I think if you put in the time, you can absolutely
Yeah.
figure out how to beat them. So, yeah. It's just good level design though. I mean, that's really what sums up that game is like the level design is so well done.
And it's got to be fun. If it's going to be difficult, they're fun
Yeah,
to play, though.
for sure.
Yeah. That's how Donkey Kong is also. So.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Last one. You ready for this one, George?
Sure am.
Most anticipated.
I've got two that I want to talk about, and then I got one that I think is like a discussion.
Okay.
So the one that I'm looking forward to the most, that I don't think either of you are looking forward to at all, Civilization 7 comes out soon.
Which one?
Civ 7, like Sid Meier's
Oh,
Civilization.
okay. Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. This is the first time in my life I've ever had like a beefy PC when a Sid Meier's game comes out. I normally have to play that shit on like a super broken MacBook Pro, which, by the way, always day and date on MacBook, just so we're 100% clear. Austin Firaxis loves Mac. But I don't have to do that this year. I can just buy it day one and play on a, like I said, beefy PC. So that one's probably like my personal game I'm looking forward to the most. Number two, got to be GTA 6, right? Like how
yes.
we're fairly certain that this is coming out this year.
Yeah.
No one knows.
Okay.
And I think people are actually waiting to find out when that releases, and then they're going to give their release dates.
That
I would
makes
not be
sense.
surprised. Yeah.
I need to know when that comes out so I can take a week off from work.
Shit.
Is what I need to do. And my number one most anticipated game of the year is whatever the Switch 2 launch titles are. Gotta be honest, I'm feeling this is the year of Nintendo for me. I'm gonna be a Nintendo sans for George.
I love that. I love it. Yeah, I on the Civ note, this is insane, but I've never once a single time played a Civilization game.
Oh man.
So now that I've got this PC though, now that I've built this PC, I'm trying to get into more stuff of that vein, like games that I never have really played.
Is it like an Age of Empires type of thing?
Kind of, but it's turn-based.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's honestly, it's more like a board game at this point. It's kind of like Catan.
Risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's different ways to win the game. You can win it through diplomacy. You can win it through conquest. You can win it through cultural victories or religious victories. Like there's all these different ways of you to just shepherd your civilization from like the actual Stone Age all the way into like the future. It's such a deep game, and it's so much fun to play.
So I do want to ask you, George, real quick. Do you think for the Switch 2, Nintendo's finally going to release the GameCube library? Like that is the next one, right?
I think so, but I'm also like, man, how many people bought Metroid Prime Remastered? Like, are they going to do that, or do they have like near modern console quality enough games, right? Like you could release Wind Waker for $60, right?
How
like
much?
a Wind Waker HD, right? Like
Right.
they did it with Skyward Sword, right? And Wind Waker is way less work. You don't have to like invent a new like controller mechanic to make it work. And so like we were talking about the GameCube games earlier, I'm like, man, it should be F-Zero GX. Like it should be Wind Waker. Honestly, they should go back in and like fix Mario Sunshine and like make that game fun this time. That would be super cool. But like they're doing a Luigi's Mansion too, right? Like aren't they re-releasing all those games as well?
No.
They put they put two on the Switch.
They put
two on
the
two's
Switch.
on it. Yeah, but that's
not one.
They're not doing the original one as well?
No.
They did a 3DS port.
3DS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody was like,
So
What
stupid.
the hell?
Yeah, and it was
Nintendo?
like 2 years after the Switch came out. So
So annoying.
Yeah, I know.
But no, I'm optimistic. I think whatever like Pokemon Legends follow-up game, I was really hoping it would be like a Let's Go Johto would be like the first Pokemon game on Switch
Oh,
too.
you know what? That's right. We don't know the
that-
release date for that. We don't even know the window this
No.
year. We could get 2
No.
Pokemon games. We could get a remaster. What's the next? Is Black and White the next remake?
I guess
That's been
technically,
the-
yeah.
I think that's been the rumor, but that doesn't mean
No.
because like they didn't. We gotta get silver and gold on modern consoles, man. Like we
I
gotta
agree.
do that.
Heart
uh,
Gold, Soul Silver.
I actually literally just spent so much dumb. Like this was
Mm.
my
Dude.
Christmas present to myself
That's
this
awesome.
year.
Yes. When are you
I,
gonna start playing it?
Yeah. Probably this weekend. Ellie
Okay.
is going away for a week, and I'm like, I need to distract myself.
I brought mine out here too, just in case I wanted to play it. So maybe I'll.
Hell yeah! That I gotta find my old pedometer. Take those guys.
the
for some walks.
Pokewalker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I always wanted them to do a Let's Go, but with Heart Gold and Soul Silver.
Yeah.
I really
that's what
liked. I really like Let's Go. Like that was my first Pokemon game I beat was Let's Go because it was easy enough for me to kind of, traverse it and kind of understand it. Like that was my Pokemon 101, right? And then after that was what are the ones that were in London? What's the ones that can't? Yeah, the ones that just can't.
Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl.
No, the one that
Oh, Sword and
Sword
Shield.
and Shield. Yeah, Sword and Shield. Right.
Oh,
And I went through that game. Like I could not put that down. Like I loved it. Maybe because it was easy and my OCD and just catching and so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that Scarlet and Violet is going to play a lot better on
yeah.
the Switch too.
Still
And
look
then
like an
I'll jump
N64 game though.
Yeah, that's fine though. I'm okay, but just
I love the N64. Yeah.
Hey, I played like 100 hours of that game. I completed the Pokedex, so I can't really say much here. But
which one?
Scarlet and Violet.
Okay.
I got all the Pokemon in that game.
Oh, you did. You went after all of it.
Yeah, Andy and I
Oh,
both
wow.
did. We both got every Pokemon in that game. So
Fucking losers again. It's so impressive. but
Bullfrog in
goddamn.
the chat says Heart Gold and Soul Silver is goated. I still have them in the box with the Pokewalker. Not a hot
Nice.
take at all, but those are my favorite Pokemon games for sure.
Yeah, they're
But
so
it's
good.
still difficult because it doesn't have experience share, huh?
I think
It does have how it used to be, where you could give like one or two
What?
an item.
that, and you could like turn it off too, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I guess you
So-
could just by taking it away.
Yeah.
Because when I think of the older games, and I'm like, because as I go through with their newer ones, my whole party levels up, and so, and if you do it right, you start a low one and you pull it out, and then so you could get more points for it. But
yeah.
I could only imagine these early ones where you're not leveling up your entire. So you got to. There's a lot of grinding, isn't there?
The games were more broken though, where like you could like I one-shotted the Elite Four with like just my Charizard, who was
Yeah.
like level 100 by the time I got to the Elite
Really?
Four. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of. Bullfrog said no XP share is such a slog though, and I agree with him. Like
I
I
love
love the old games, but I prefer the new style with the XP
Right.
share.
If XP share is a problem, it's like actually like the game's the problem, man. Like
Yeah.
the way experience, like it takes too long to do it, and like I know why they do it. It pads the game, and it makes it more of a journey. I get that, but it's also like, what if I didn't have to grind for 5 hours just to level up
Yeah.
one dude? Like that sucks.
That was great when I was 12 and going to school,
Right,
but
yeah.
at 28 when I'm trying to go work and like have a social life, I'd rather not have to take 150
And
hours to beat a Pokemon game. So
I'll tell you what, that actually wasn't that great back when the Game Boy took 4 AA batteries. You know, like that
True.
it wasn't
True.
super great.
So,
sorry, I've been talking but the Switch 2 launch titles. I hope there's a GameCube remaster. I hope we get like two of those a year. Give us one every 6 months. Just give us like the best of the GameCube, and then once you do all the remasters, then open up the GameCube portal shit on Switch 2. I don't care.
Or you go into the Wii.
Yeah,
You know,
there's so many Wii games.
Mario Galaxy 2.
WarioWare.
Where is it at, man?
WarioWare Shake It, baby. That's the one I want.
Yes, definitely.
Alden said in the chat Prime 2 and 3, Metroid Prime 2 and 3, because we're still waiting on those.
I would love a version of Metroid Prime 3 that just uses a controller and not those shitty Wii controls. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So here's my thing about Metroid Prime 4. Being out here, you know, I don't have my Wii U, so I'll go through again Metroid Prime because I brought it with me. I'll go through it again, and then when I get home this summer, I'll break out the Wii U. Hopefully it's still working, because remember, if you haven't turned it on in a while, it may not work. Yeah, it could be bricked. And then I'll just, for God, that the Wii motion controls, I'll go through Metroid Prime 2 and then and 3.
Yeah.
So before I play 4. So let's say we get a summer release. Well, I think the Switch is coming out in the fall, but I'll wait to play Metroid Prime 4 till I get through 2 and 3. Just saying. What's up? Why are you laughing, man?
I'll ask the question at the end because I want to save it for after we finish our awards. But
okay.
So George did his most anticipated. So mine, obviously, Monster Hunter Wilds is number one, like far and far away.
Yeah.
So that comes out end of February. So I can't wait for that game. But as far as other ones that I haven't talked about quite as much, Doom: The Dark Ages.
Oh yeah.
God, man. I cannot wait for that game. It's going to be weird a little bit without Mick Gordon on the soundtrack, but at the same time, that whole, I don't really want to go into that, but that whole situation with like him claiming that id wasn't paying him properly, and then like id fighting back, like just a whole
it was
ordeal with the two of them. So it'll suck to not have his score because I think he's excellent, but I'm sure they'll figure out some other way to get around it. So that game, can't wait to play it on PC too.
Mm-hmm.
Ghost of Yote, the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima.
Yes.
Pumped for that game. I think it looks really cool. The new character they've got, I really like her design, and then
I do too.
I really like that it's a different character too, and like a different time frame. I kind of like the idea of it just separating and being its own thing and not continuing the story. I think that's great. We'll see how it is. I'm excited for it, but Metal Gear Solid Delta, which is the remake of 3 that Konami is working on, it looks excellent. My question is this going to be as good as the original without Kojima at the helm? Because this is really the first Metal Gear game we've had that he hasn't been there for, aside from Metal Gear Survive, which was terrible. So...
What was the Metal Gear game that was it was a hack and slash?
Rising. Metal Gear Rising.
Yes. Did you play that?
Yes, it's phenomenal.
Is it really?
Yeah. It's excellent. It's a great Platinum game from Platinum Games. Yeah.
Nice.
So really well done. It actually continues the plot of Metal Gear Solid 4. It picks up later. So it's technically the furthest plot point in the series. But it's really, really good. And then finally, FBC Firebreak, which is the new game from Remedy that is set in the Control universe. It's a 3-player co-op.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that. So those are mine.
All right. Here are my 3. Number 1, I never ever pay more to unlock it like 3 days before, but I did with Dynasty Warriors Origins. So the 14th, which is a week from today, I'll be rocking it. Nice. Second one is Doom: The Dark Ages. Of course, I'll get it on my PS5, but later on this year, I'll also play it on PC whenever I get home, which I reached out to some guy back home, and he's going to help me upgrade my PC. So definitely
Nice.
get that. And then, I mean, it's just kind of like rumored, right? But I'm hoping, and this is a stretch, I'm hoping that Breath of the Wild gets a remaster. So it's either 1080p or 1440p at 60 frames per second through the whole way. And that game, I will spend another 300 hours in that world again. Give it
Coach
to
will
me.
somehow find a way to make Breath of the Wild be his game of the year for the 6th year in a row.
Yes. Yep. 6 year in a row. So, so Ghost of Yotai, right? I do have to platinum Tsushima first, but yeah, that's probably my if I had a number 4, that would be it.
Yeah.
And it does. I like the look of it. So I mean,
Yeah.
I know we only have we got a small amount. So I think it's going to be a really good year for gaming, even if the Switch doesn't release. I think it's going to be an amazing year for gaming, and I'm excited.
There's a lot more coming out in 2025 that I'm excited for than last year. I felt like last year for me personally was a really slow year. There wasn't really a whole lot coming out that I was that excited for personally. I know there were obviously still a lot of big games, but I just felt like overall 2024 didn't do much for me. So I'm excited for what's coming this year. Although frankly, there's too much releasing.
Yeah,
In 2025, there's no way I'm going to be able to keep up with all this on top of Switch 2. So,
Well, especially like under hours you're going to put into Monster Hunter by the end of the year, like 200,
at least 200.
I'd say 300. I'd say 300. I bet you 300. You're close to beat.
Yeah. So, well, dude, last time when World came out, Rise didn't hook me quite as much as World, but when World came out, and specifically Iceborne, when that expansion released, I think that was the only game I played for like 7 or 8 months. So hopefully that doesn't happen this time, so I can play some other stuff. But I'm really excited for that game.
I mean, it's definitely going to be the year of the backlog for me, like especially for my platinums, right? However, I want to try and get and finish 4 new games. So next year at this time, I have a little bit more to give to the podcast, right? So yeah, I'm definitely looking at least every quarter, try to do at least one game, a new one, you know. But there is a lot. I mean, and we don't even know what's going to come out in the fall. Well,
True.
I'm sure.
Sorry to interrupt.
No,
I didn't even mention Grand Theft Auto 6. I mean, I'm excited for that too.
Yeah.
The more I
Are
think
we
about
all getting it? Are we all
for
getting
sure.
it? Day one?
Yeah. Like I said, I'm going to try to take like a week off from work.
I wonder if we could do this where we stream it, but a window has Austin's game, window has mine, a window has George's, a window has Seth's, and we're just all sitting on there just chit-chatting, just BSing.
We could probably figure out some way to do that. I'd have to think through the logistics of it, but I remember when Grand Theft Auto Online came out for 4 or for 5 rather, when we were doing R&M still at the time, me and Seth and Blake, I think, and Elijah would all play it together and stream it like constantly. That was a ton of fun playing that when it dropped. So
I just remember you guys had so much fun because I'd jump on the stream and just hang out.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I got a quick question before we end. And people in the chat, if you want to answer too. If Grand Theft Auto 4 got a remaster, I know it's on PC, but I guess it's kind of like not the best. But if Grand Theft Auto 4 was remastered, would you guys jump in like all in on it?
I think so.
With the
100%.
DLC, the Ballad of Gay Tony?
Yeah.
I'm tempted to jump in just to the people say that there's a lot of things you need to add to it, like mods to it to make it look remastered, but you could do it. But yeah.
I never played 4. So, but I remember at the time a lot of people were not as high on 4's campaign, but over the years now people speak very highly of it. So
Yes, I've
I
seen a
do want
lot
to
of
play
that on Reddit and stuff where people are wanting to get a remaster.
Yeah.
Because how's Red Dead Redemption on the Series X and PS5? How
I
is
think
it that
pretty
much
good.
better? Or yeah,
I don't know if it's really a remaster. I think it's kind of just like
a
higher
port?
frame rate and
Yeah,
resolution,
which is
but
all it needs.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
trying to figure out just on that topic. I'm trying to figure out what to play now that I finished Indiana Jones. I think I'm going to start Red Dead 2. I think that's going to be the next game I play because it's like a good.
How
thing to
long are
lean
those
into.
games?
60
20?
hours. Like it's a big ass
60?
game.
The first one or the second one?
Second
Or
one.
both?
I mean,
Second
actually,
one's a lot longer.
First one's not short either.
Yeah.
No, that Red Dead Redemption was like the number one game I wanted to get a remaster, and then it finally did last year, I think, year before. Right, got like a PS4, Xbox One version. Now it's like literally, like Morrowind and Oblivion, and Fallout 3. Those are like the last, I guess, 3 games now. But GTA 4 would be sick. I'm gonna add that one to the list.
So by next week, when we cast pods, I'll have my first 2 platinums, my PS4, PS5.
Nice.
By then. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this year, gentlemen.
Hell yeah,
I'm excited to see Seth again.
Someday, yeah.
Someday.
So Alden earlier in the chat was asking where Seth was, and I said he got bit by 36 and a half snakes.
Yes.
So that's where he is.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
But before we end, I wanted to ask one question because I think this could be vital.
Okay.
We were talking about this in our WhatsApp group chat.
Yeah.
And I know there's been a lot of discussion around the internet about what to expect this year with the Switch 2. I'm going to ask a question, and we're going to say yes or no, and we're going to see what happens. Do we think the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be announced before the next time we record this podcast?
No.
Yes.
I'm not available next week. Are you guys recording without me?
Well, that's a good question.
Because like, if you're not, like, I'm like, okay, I can see it being announced in the next 2 weeks.
That's streamed in Austin.
In the next week, that's like, I don't know. I would say no in the next week. I would take the over.
Okay,
if you're recording next week.
Let's say we are recording next week.
No.
Okay, so I'm the only yes here. So we got 2 no's and a yes.
If you're right, I will buy you like a Uber Eats dinner or something. Like I will get deliveries sent to your home.
I'll give you my JBL.
No, that's a really good speaker. Don't do
that.
Yeah.
Don't do that, Coach.
No,
Don't do that, Coach. Okay, Bullfrog in the chat said no. Alden said no. So I'm the only yes. So we'll see what happens when you guys are all wrong.
I think it's going to be revealed in the summer, right? When E3 is not around anymore, and that we're going to get it during October, November.
So
that
you
way,
said that before, but they already said it's going to be announced before March 31st.
Well, Nintendo, they could change their own rules. Like they could be like, we need more time or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So,
We'll see. I think within the next week. Because we've already seen like the Joy-Cons.
We've seen the whole thing already.
It's all out there. We've seen the freaking motherboard. Like,
has there been a Nintendo Direct since
Digital
June?
Foundry already did a video on the motherboard.
I don't know when the last
What'd you say?
actual Nintendo Direct was.
I think the last one was like
September,
E3.
October.
That was like an indie showcase, right?
Let me
Or
look.
is that
It's
like
whatever they announced when they announced Donkey Kong.
I'm looking. By the way, Bullfrog switched his answer. He says, "You know what, Austin? I have faith in you. I'll say yes."
Hey, I do want to give a shout out to our guys in the chat hanging out with us tonight.
Yes, for sure. Bullfrog and I remember this. We share the same birthday, so we have the same wavelength. So I'm going to say we're correct.
Okay.
Yes, it will be announced. Okay, so joking aside, the last normal Nintendo Direct, like no partner showcase, no indie thing, was the June Direct.
Dang.
After that, there have been 4 directs since then. One was on the Nintendo Museum in August. A week
Okay.
later, they did an indie direct. They then did a partner showcase. And then the most recent one was the Super Nintendo World Direct in November. So
We're due for a direct soon, right?
we are.
Not only that, but I've been hitting PlayStation on the YouTube just to see announcements. Like we should be getting a lot of announcements this month, right? Because the holiday burn is over, and now let's get to 2025 and let's start showcasing them games, boys.
Yeah.
What we got.
It's going to be an exciting year. I'm excited for this year. So.
It is. I can't
Also
wait to
curious-
announce my next platinum after I announce my first platinum when I finish
and the coach
Hell
direct.
The CD's not
live from
it.
Cuba.
I'm curious too. The one thing I've been kicking around in the back of my head. So Trump has promised that he promised whatever. Like I don't think he
Gulf
keeps his
of
word very
America,
often.
baby.
Yeah,
It's the
Greenland.
Can't
Anyway.
fucking believe that. Anyway, he said he wants to impose tariffs on Mexico and Canada, right?
Right.
A lot of discs are printed in Canada, in Mexico. Most Blu-ray DVD discs are printed there. So I wonder, like, if he follows through with what he says he's going to do, like, are we going to see the first shift where digital games are actually cheaper than physical games because of the tariff? And like, if that's going to like actually collapse the physical games market.
That's actually a great question. I could see that happening. Frankly, it's always been surprising to me that digital games have never been like a few bucks cheaper than their physical counterparts.
Well, I think they do that to maintain relationships with realtors or real retailers, right? Because it's like,
for sure.
Cool, man. No one can buy your digital game if we don't sell your fucking PlayStation. So how would you make them the same price, Dr. Sony? Right? That's usually how I think Johnny GameStop talks to Dr. Sony.
Am I so? I'm sorry. You're probably the one that's more knowledgeable on this. I could be wrong. I think the Vita is the only system that's done that, right? Weren't there some Vita games that were $5 cheaper? I think digital versus physical, if I'm recalling correctly.
Probably, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Man, you're supposed to be the Vita like savant.
I gotta be honestly, man. Like, I've been playing like PSP more than Vita. Although I have been playing Vita lately. I'm trying to get the platinum in Gravity Rush on Vita.
Man, I feel like this is
If I ever make it out to Japan, there are so many Vita games out there. Like when you go to the stores, like the whole section just Vita games, and I'm like, where was that here?
Hey man, I imported a shit ton, man. I'm staring at them right now.
Yeah.
Look at that beautiful Vita collection.
You know what game I almost thought about buying, but I'm like, stop spending the money, was the new East game that came out today. And I heard it's really good too. Like,
that's a
it's like
series I've never played.
Origins. Yeah.
That is the other Vita game I've been playing is East Memories of Salsetta or whatever the forest one is.
Yeah. You've been playing that now?
Playing that and Gravity Rush on Vita. I've been trying.
I want to say it's either 19 or it's like either $20 or $30. But have you seen the only way to buy it physical is that box? Like, have you seen the collector's box?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a box, like the size of a book, right? A new book, but just a little bit thicker. Comes with stuff that's just kind of like stickers and stuff like that, right? So, but yeah, it was really tempting. I'm like, oh man, I could, but then I'm like, no, stay focused. You got to focus on this platinum. You got to get this platinum done before the 7th or the 14th. You got 1 week.
Yeah.
My goal was to not buy like anything. Like I have comic book subscriptions that are on repeat or whatever on call. I'm like, don't buy any games. Don't buy any fucking movies. Just don't buy any bullshit in the month of January. Just do that January, maybe even February. Like you're not doing dry January, do dry credit card January. Do that instead. And just like pay off all your credit card debt. So it's like I feel bad. It's getting kind of hard and it's January 7th. Like I don't know how to do this. Yeah.
I know. Like I said, I almost got the East game. Like, just download it on the Switch and just be like a chill game. And
I want to get fucking Dynasty Warriors because you won't stop talking about it. I just want something to talk about with my good friend Coach.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, we have anything else we want to chit chat about?
I don't think so.
How the boys in the chat, are they have any questions?
There is one question from Alden George. Do you remember how good the TV ad campaigns were in the lead up to the release of Pokemon Gold and Silver? I do, man. That shit was so much cooler back then. All video game ads. They weren't trying to. I don't want to say this. They were in on the joke, I guess. Like that one, it wasn't for Pokemon Silver and Gold. It was for, I think, Red and Blue. But like the super creepy bus driver with like it had like blue tinnish lighting on it. Bus driver picking up all these Pokemon, like, and then he's just like, "Don't worry, guys, I know where we're going. It's gonna be okay." And then he like locks them on the bus and then leaves them on like a trash compactor thing that just like pushes them in. And so like all these Pokemon are crushed to death. And then like when the trash compactor's arms leave, then it's just like a Game Boy with like all the Pokemon trying to bust out of the Game Boy. I'm like, fuck. And like that's a cool ass ad, man. That is good shit right there. And just the game ads today, like the one that was kind of sweet was I think it was a Japanese only ad where it was like for Breath of the Wild, where it was just like an older businessman like rediscovering his youth and childhood by playing Breath of the Wild, just like feeling like a kid again. And I think that's like the last video game ad I can remember where I'm like, oh, you guys like gave a shit when you were making this one. That's cool.
Japanese have the best promos for their games. I'll say that. So, all right. Well, gentlemen, thank you for being a part of my first podcast that I hosted. That I've been doing this since 2013, 2014, when you finally called me up to the varsity team, Austin.
You did a great job, Coach. You did a great job. This is your first time hosting a podcast in the entire several hundred episodes that we have ever done.
Nervous at first. But then again.
Well, it showed. No, I'm just kidding.
So, all right, Austin, will you take us home?
All right. Well, I just hit a button and then we're done.
No, you got to say, George. You can find George at.
No, I don't have to.
No, okay.
I don't do that anymore.
I don't have to.
Okay.
Goodbye.
I'll just go fuck myself then.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Frameskip. Don't forget you can find the show on social media at FrameskippPod. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also follow us individually on Twitter. George is at Shortbox Summary, Seth is at Seth the 90s Kid, and I, Austin Eller, am at Austin J. Eller on Twitter. If you've got a question, comment, or topic you'd like to hear discussed on the next episode of Frameskip, you can do so by submitting it to us on social media. Email us at frameskippodcast@gmail.com or visit bit.ly/frameskipq. That's bit.ly/frameskipq. The show is typically live on YouTube every week, either on Tuesday or Wednesday. You can find our YouTube channel at bit.ly/frameskiplive. Don't forget to subscribe and be notified when we do go live, typically at about 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.